Welcome to the Acrylic Portrait Painting Challenge Masterclass, lesson number 8, finishing your portrait with confidence. Hey, it's awesome that you're here again, and we are getting so close to the finish line in this portrait. I'm excited. I'm excited to see your portraits developing on Facebook. I mean, we've seen just an awesome group of portraits being posted. When I put up the call for entries for the 1-year realistic acrylic all access membership and asked you guys to post your portrait in progress, and many of your portraits are very close to completion, but I'm amazed. I mean, the shading, the likeness, the beauty, the skin tones you guys have captured is just sweet. And I know that because you've done this portrait, you're going to be able to take those skills into your future paintings as well, because what you've developed here, if you can paint a realistic portrait one time, you can do it again and again and again. So again, I am just thrilled that you're here. We can finish up this portrait here together, and hopefully we'll be able to get this finished in this session. But truly, I think that there's going to be more work involved to really get this finished to the level that I would like it to, just within the time frame we have. And I see, some areas, some nuances I'd like to finish up on her ear, her hair, the lace, and really would like to put in a lot more detail and nuances there, just to make this portrait as best as I can. I'm always striving to make each portrait better than the last, and I'd like to take you on that journey as well. So, it's no secret that I do have some bonus videos. There's just so much footage involved. A painting like this takes more than 8 hours. I have 8 hours for the class, but a painting like this takes more than 8 hours to do. And so those bonus videos have been put in the All Access membership. I'll talk more about that later towards the end of this video. But anyway, just to let you know, I'd like to invite you in on that journey to really bring your portrait to the highest level possible. However, with this class here, I'm going to invest everything I have to bring this portrait as far along as I can, get as close as I can to completion, take you on that journey with me. And already, from what I've seen, there's so many excellent portraits out there. And I hope you are happy with what you've achieved, because it's just been a joy to see it and experience it. Well, anyway, let's start up here with a word of prayer, and we're going to get right into the lesson. Father, I ask a blessing here on this last class here that we're doing together. It's been such a joy to be able to teach the students, and Lord, I pray you bless each and every one of them. You know what they're experiencing in their lives, all the challenges, all the joys and thrills of being able to paint a portrait, just the details of their lives, Lord. You are in the details. And I pray that you would open up doors for them to use their portrait painting talents to encourage others, to bring joy to others around them, whether they're doing commission portraits or portraits of loved ones, to bring joy and peace to themselves, that they could sit back after they painted a portrait and be proud of what they've created, and really just enjoy the process as they're painting. So, Lord, I ask that blessing on the students, keep them healthy, keep them safe, provide everything they need, and then help me, Lord, to be able to finish this portrait well. I do need your help, Lord. Guide my brush strokes, help me to communicate the techniques well, and that, we'll be able to finish this portrait with excellence, with confidence. In Jesus' name, amen. Oh yeah, and I did just about forget, it is not too late to sign up for the Portrait Painting Challenge. All right, if you're watching this, obviously it's lesson number 8, but these lessons are all pre-recorded. They stay up permanently on my YouTube channel, so you can benefit from that. You can still sign up for the challenge. You can backtrack to lesson number 1, but when you sign up for the challenge, you get the welcome kit, which gives you the supplies list, the gridded reference photo, everything you need to paint along with us. You can do that at realisticacrylic.com/spring-acrylic-portrait-painting-challenge. And go ahead and sign up. It is free. Love to have you take part. Just paint at your own pace. No pressure at all. Alright, so let's dive in here. I've got matte medium on my palette, and what I want to do is I want to darken her hair just a little bit. Done a lot of work on the background, getting nuances there, and darkening that. But now the hair is a little too light in comparison to that. I'd just like to darken this highlight in particular. So I'm going to take my flat edge brush, and we'll start with some raw umber dark. Just grab a little corner here, and in fact, let's just zoom in just a bit, and we will take a little bit of ultramarine blue as well, and a bit of alizarin crimson. And I just kind of wipe that off on the palette, and then bring it into the matte medium. And then I'll show you this on the white card. So this is what it looks like right here. You can see that. Nice kind of rich brown color, and we're just going to start at the parted area and work our way down from there. And just basically enriching the tones. I did some work with details and maybe lost a little bit of the saturation of the darkest hues, so I just want to restore that. The beauty of the glazing technique is that you can always go on top of your detail work without messing it up. If you're painting purely opaque, and let's say you've got some incredible details, but you notice that as a whole a certain area is too light or too dark or whatever, and generally too light, or the color is off, well, then you have to repaint all your details all over again. But with the glazing technique, you can just darken an entire area and you still have all of your work underneath shining through. So that really makes it nice. I'm going to bring this glaze just a little bit up into the top of her hair, and I'm just using the corner of the brush at 45-degree angle and introducing that color up there without going all the way to the top, because that area needs to be a little cooler in tone. That is where that spotlight on the top is shining, in the reference photo. Now, let's add a little bit of the same color right here as well to the side, and I'm going to bring it in over her neck area, and then we're going to also just glaze that down into the lower area as well. Oh, let's add just a bit right here on the edge. Okay. So that helps. I like that more. Just going to wipe away that area. I see that should be a little lighter. Okay. Now I want to work on a nuance on her eyebrow area. And what you're working on in your portrait might be a little bit different, but you'll have to take it by a case-by-case basis. Alright, just had to get a fresh round brush here. And then what we're going to do is just add a little bit of a nuance to her eyebrow area. Alright, I gotta make sure I edit this out. That's even worse. Yeah. Okay, let's take some Raumer Dark, and then just a bit of this alizarin crimson that I had wiped off to the side, and a tiny bit of titanium white, and then a little bit of raw sienna. And we're going to see how that matches. So we just want to, at least I want to in my portrait, just thicken this area up a bit. I think when I was doing the skin tones, it did get a little bit lost and obscured, that the thickness of her eyebrow and the angle. And that will happen, you know, where you're working on larger glazes and you'll sometimes obscure the edges of certain things and you have to come back in and restore it. Alright, I'm going to add a little bit of titanium white to this and just blend out. And we're just going to blend that into this area below her eyebrows and get some really nice nuances by just making it a bit darker underneath. So now at this stage we're definitely mixing some titanium white glazes, or I should say titanium white into our glazes to make them somewhat semi-opaque. And then let me show you this color on the white card so you can see really how opaque that is. So it's pretty opaque at this point. It's probably 50% opaque. But that helps us to get that nuance. I can come back in and maybe lighten it on the top if I think it got a little too high, and just kind of feather it in. And then I want to feather this edge here. That's a little rough, so I'm going to get a bit of a nuance there. I'm going to use the same color, and I'm going to place this on top of this area right to the upper right of her eye. And then I want to add a bit of burnt sienna to that. Just warm it up and lighten it up with burnt sienna and titanium white. And then I'm going to blend out of that. Alright, and we'll just continue blending here to get a few little nuances. I'm just using a size 4 round brush. It works pretty well for these small little nuances. And you can brush across the grains, so to speak, based on your initial brush strokes. You can, let me just zoom in and show you here. You can use this round brush, and instead of brushing downward, you can brush across with little tiny strokes just to blend in those nuances to a finer degree. I want to add a little glaze right up here on her forehead. So again, I'm going to use this same mixture I had from before. I'm going to add just a little bit of ultramarine blue to it. Let's show you right here, just a little tiny bit of ultramarine blue. And I'm going to place that right there, because there's a section right above her eyebrow region that's a little bit darker, and I want to show that. And I'm going to bring that nuance out, and I'm going to blend it into a lighter color, grabbing from this right here. Hopefully that's light enough and chromatically intense enough. I need just a bit of burnt sienna to warm that up. Maybe even a touch of pyro red orange. We're just going to place that right there, kind of feather this out. I do like to use these small brushes at this stage if I have enough glazes on. The reason why is I can really precisely place those differences in value where they occur. Instead of having just a more general shift in value, you can create a better sense of the architecture of the face, the anatomy of the bone structure underneath, if you get those little deviations in value placed exactly where they occur. And there is a little bit of a divot, so I'm going to add some titanium white and Indian yellow, a little bit of pyro red orange. Bring this into this mix here because I have to make it a little lighter, along with just a bit more titanium white. And then this is going to go right here just to get that bit of a divot above her eyebrow. It's just a little area that's sticking out and catching more of the light, and I want to capture that. Alright, now I want to use a similar color here. I'll add a bit more burnt sienna to this mix. And what I want to do is work on the shadow underneath her hair. So right along here we need to strengthen that shadow. And I'm going to take this color here, and this is what it looks like on the white card. In comparison to what we had before, that glaze we put over her hair, if you remember that, this is what it looks like. So it's a little bit lighter, but not by much. Actually, I'm sorry, this glaze here is what we put on the eyebrows. This is the one we use for the hair right there. That's the one we use for her eyebrow on the left on that shadow. And this is how much lighter that one is and how much warmer it is. But it is semi-opaque at this point, so a ratio of, again, about 50% matte medium to 50% paint. And I'm going to add this glaze below her hair, going into the flesh tones, and that really helps to increase the realism when you have this sense of the shadow taking place there. Now we're going to have a harsh edge. I'm just going to see if I can soften it a bit with my finger. Just soften that edge a little bit. I'm going to go over this shadow that I already established from before. And then we'll have to come back in and do some additional work to really get the nuances. We can't do that all in one layer. So this is really a measure of patience when you're painting with the glazing technique. But the patience, like many areas in life, it is worth it. You get far better results most of the time if you do things methodically, a little bit here, a little bit there, until you get it done. There's an area on her cheek that I need to just refine. It's projecting out a bit, so I'm going to take some raw umber dark and do that with a bit of ultramarine blue. I'm just going to refine that edge of her cheek just a bit. And I'm going to darken the hair behind it. Add a bit of ultramarine blue and titanium white and Indian yellow, because I need to get and a bit of raw umber dark and then titanium white again. I need to get that glaze color behind her hair a little more refined. Basically I have a too chromatically intensive a color right next to her cheek there. That has to get softened up a bit. But I might have to do that in a future glaze. Okay, we need to darken the sclera, the white of her eye. It is a little too light, so I'm going to take raw umber dark, a bit of ultramarine blue, mix them together, along with a bit of titanium white. And we'll just mix them together, kind of make a nice gray. And then we're going to just go over the sclera with that. And we're going to carefully place that right over the sclera and darken that without going into the iris. If you do, you can always restore it. You can always restore that area. It's not a big deal just by painting the iris cover, the iris color, excuse me, back on top of the sclera color. And one layer here probably won't be enough. I'll have to come back in and get some additional nuances. But I'd like to add this same glaze to the right eye as well. Oh, and then on the white card, if you're curious as to what it looks like, this is what it looks like right here. So it's a little more semi-transparent, but it's also lighter in value. It does have some white in it, but it's not nearly as dark as those other glazes are. Now we're going to add this glaze right here on the top of the eye, and then we're going to mix a little bit of matte medium into this glaze and dilute it, and then blend it out from there. I want to just fan this down, so you want to make sure you don't have this too dark, and spread that out nice and evenly. Just use brush strokes that follow the contours of the iris. You can feather that in. And then we'll add a warmish glaze here. We're going to pull from this mixture that has, you know, the burnt sienna and a little pyro red orange and raw umber dark in it. And we're going to add that glaze down here because there's a pinkish tone there we need to capture. We're just going to put that below, right there. Okay. So, let me just zoom in here and show you. So we have the more cool tone on the top and the more pinkish tone down there on the bottom. I'm going to zoom out a bit. And let's see. Let's do a little bit of work on her lips. Actually, I tell you what, let's do a little work on her nose. I want to add a highlight to the nose here. I'm going to take some titanium white with just a touch of Indian yellow. And we're going to make a nice highlight color. A little matte medium to make it fluid, so this is mostly opaque. You don't want it to be too yellow. And then we will add that right here on her nose and just get a nice little highlight on the tip. I'm going to add a little more matte medium. It's a bit too thick. I want that to be very fluid, just so I can graze that across. Just get that nice little highlight there. And then go back to her eye, both of them. Let's put in a little highlight there on her eye. I'm going to take this titanium white and I'm just going to, same color I've mixed, make it really fluid. You can use a thinner brush if you want to, if this one is too large. In fact, let's see if we can do that here. Let's use this size 2/0 right here. This nice detail brush. And we're just going to put in that titanium white, and on her eye there's a little distinct shape that you want to capture. Alright, so it's not just a little circle, there's kind of a line that goes down. It almost looks like a bird flying in a distance. There's two little wings. There's one little shape, and then we're going to add a bit of ultramarine blue to this glaze here. Tone it down, and a little bit of raw umber dark just to make kind of a gray, kind of a bluish gray. And we're going to put that bluish tint over here on the left. I just want to get that distinction in there. So we're going to get really kind of picky here, but just put a little bluish tint right where those two areas meet. And then that slightly bluish gray glaze on the top of that white, just to give it a bit of nuance. So I don't know if that shows up on the video, but just the slightest little nuance there. I'll add it to the other eye as well. And then I'm going to add just a perimeter of Pyro Red Orange and Indian Yellow. Pyro Red Orange and Indian Yellow. Show you this right here. Mix those two together with a generous amount of matte medium, to about 50% opacity. And on the white card, this is what that looks like. So it's pretty intense. You can see that here. Right here. Alright, I can't get that to focus on there. Here it is. That's kind of difficult to move this and get it to show up on the camera. Everything's in reverse. But that's the color you're looking for. Let's make it a little larger so you can see it. Pretty bright, pretty intense. And we will place that right around the highlight on her eye, but we're going to place it on the lower edge. So these are just fun little nuances to give it more luminosity, really make it pop. That goes just on that bottom edge. Again, I don't know if you can see those nuances here. This is about as close as I can zoom it. But it's just a little bit of this orangish color right at the tip on the lower left side of those reflections. Again, two little points. If you study your reference photo, you'll see it. But that's what we're trying to capture here. Alright, and now I want to just add a little bit of richness to that tone in her eye while we're there. And let's take some raw umber dark and burnt sienna. We'll mix that together here on the palette. Raw umber dark and burnt sienna. And I want to add a nice kind of rich tone to the middle of her eye. Both of them. Just going to glaze that right in there. Just to get that brown really locked in there nicely. So now that we have all those glazes in, it really pays off. Add just a bit more ombre dark to the mix, and then I'm going to just somewhat darken that more on the top. It really dials in that color of her eyes nicely. And then we can take a bit of ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. I'm just going to spray a little bit of water on it. This is pretty much full strength. Alright, it's not even diluted. Ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson, and I'm just going to really emphasize her pupils here. So we're just putting in a little of that color in the center, and then I'm adding a bit to the top under the eyelid fold, and just blending it out. And then I take this color and work it into this other one down over here, if you can see it, and just get a bit of a nuance there to blend out of. So here, I'll show you on this side. I'm bringing some of that brownish color with the ombre dark and burnt sienna up over here. And then I'm going to blend the two of them together with a bit of matte medium. And I want to basically just blend the edge of that pupil out so you get a little more depth. It's probably not something you can see on camera so well, but in person it looks really cool.